Hi, my name is John Brink. Thank you for joining us. You're watching a history of the BC forest industry. Thank you for joining us today. I'm really excited. My guest today is Frank Rossi, who is the Dean of Trades and Technology of the College of New Caledonia. Frank, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. Thanks for the invite.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where did you come from before you came to Prince George?
Well, I was born and raised in Prince George.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I've lived here all my life and a proud Prince Georger.
Yeah, and then, so your parents came here to Prince George from Italy, or?
That's correct, yeah. My mom and dad, they came separately, and they came mid-50s. My father, both of them came over on the boat from Italy, 3 or 4 days on the boat, and then they took a train right across Canada. And they came separately, like I said. My father, I think we said he came in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And he's from southern Italy,
Yeah.
and where it was very warm. He came here and it was minus 40 degrees, and he stopped in the Kootenays, and then decided to come up north. He likes the fishing and hunting. He decided to come up north, and like most Prince George people, he came up here for 6 months and lived here all his life.
Yeah, and so why did he choose Canada? Was it the work he did, or something? But more because I'm an immigrant myself initially. But there is usually a story of some sort behind it.
Yeah, mostly for opportunities. I think my father was a tradesman. John, I often say this if people hear me speak at the college. He was a tradesman. His father was a tradesman. And I became a tradesman, and I followed in his footsteps as well. So more opportunities, and his family members decided to come over, immigrate over to Canada, and so he followed with them.
Yeah, and there is something about being a tradesperson, because like I was born in Holland, and my family my grandfather was a furniture maker and was well known, although I didn't know him, but I knew him by the things that he did and looked at those a lot of times. And then my father managed a small lumber company, so I, like you, was destined to become a tradesperson in the lumber industry, and I started out as a furniture maker.
Yes, yeah, and it's funny because when he was in Italy, they were considered blacksmiths, and very equivalent work to heavy-duty mechanics.
Yeah.
So when he came to Canada, he got a job right away, actually in the automotive industry. And as a tradesman, that is my background, John, is automotive technician. So and then he moved on to heavy-duty from there.
Yeah. The other thing about trades is something that, as I grew up, being a tradesperson meant something in terms of pride of being a tradesperson. It kind of fit into the levels there of being a lawyer, a doctor, and they presented it with pride, right?
Yeah, and it's funny. I think the mindset's changing in North America. He often talked to me about that. In his village that he was from, in a small community he was from in Italy, tradesmen were well regarded, and they were regarded as equals as doctors and lawyers over in Italy. So to have a trade certification or a background was so important for the community, and the pride of a tradesman over in Europe, as you well know, John, was very important. Now that mindset's changing over in Canada, but it's still a little ways away.
Yeah. So when you came, did you have siblings, or?
I had two siblings and an older brother,
Yeah.
and a younger sister.
Yeah.
My brother worked for the school district for many years, and just recently retired. I have two siblings as well.
And so you got you were born here, you got your training here. So where did you get your training?
I got my training where I work right now. It's College of New Caledonia, and it's to some of the older people that seen the show Welcome Back, Cotter. I talk about that quite often, where I did all my schooling, my 4 years apprenticeship, and then I moved into working there many years later. So I did all my 4 years of apprenticeship at the College of New Caledonia.
Yeah, and then from there on in, you went in to get a job. So so you worked in industry, or where did you go from there?
Yep. I first started out at a small gas station. It was called 15th Avenue Esso. It was where that Quick Lube place is right now.
Exactly.
And so I did my apprenticeship there. And then I moved on to Fred Walls. I worked for Fred Walls for about 11 years until it went into receivership. And from there, I went to PG Motors for 2 years and worked there. And then I went on to the college, and that was in 2000. So I've been there ever since 2000.
Yeah, so then when you started at the college, you became, what was your first job at the college?
Yeah, I had different roles at the college. I first started out as a substitute instructor, and I did some instructing in the automotive industry as my background.
Right.
While I was still working in the field. Then I moved on as a program coordinator in the continuing education department.
Yeah.
And then from there, I received my master's, and then I moved on to the trades and technologies department as an associate dean. And for the last 7-8 years, I've been the dean of trades and technologies.
Okay. And then the other thing, part of your family, you also have you have 3 daughters.
I have 3 daughters, yes. And
tell me a little bit about.
Oh, I'm really proud of them. They they're probably known in the community for their soccer skills,
Exactly.
way better than their dad's skills, obviously. Yeah. Yes, 2 of them went down to the University of Central Arkansas. They received soccer scholarships down there. They traveled all over the States and had a wonderful experience. My youngest daughter went to UNBC. She played on the soccer team there, got her degree there. So all of my daughters came back to Prince George. They're all here. They all have they've raised now roots in Prince George, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
And they all have their careers all started. One works at Canfor.
Yeah.
One works at the cancer agency as a manager, and then the other one works in a financial place. So
Exactly.
yeah, so it's great.
Yeah. So the other thing, Frank, that I kind of think about is the College of New Caledonia. At one point, it had a different name, and it was a different organization. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a really interesting. People know the College of New Caledonia as health sciences and social service programs and business programs and also trades programs. We're celebrating our 50th anniversary this year, which is wonderful for the college. But before it became the college, it was the BC Vocational School. And it was about 10, 12 years before the actual College of New Caledonia came into play. It was a trades and vocational school years past. And a funny story, John, my father, when he came over here, and I talked about the blacksmith certification that he received, he actually had to go to the college to get his BC credentials. And he went to the college.
Just when he got here.
When he got here, he went, so that was probably the early 60s, to get his certification, that it was equivalent to his blacksmith certification, which was a heavy-duty certification. And he went there. He didn't know the language very well, so he had to do a competency check. And it was funny, he tells me the story all the time. He says he had to get a priest with him who knew both English and Italian to work through the exam and work through the competency portion of the program as well.
And he did that successfully,
He did it
and
successfully.
It became a career, right?
Yes, he did.
And he ended up working for Canfor for quite a long time?
He sure did. He started out actually as an automotive, in the automotive industry, and I believe down in George Street as the Chrysler dealership.
Right.
And so he was there for a little while, and then he moved on to Standard Bus.
Right.
And then he went to Canfor for his last 15 years of his career. And funny story, because my mom was a cook down on 3rd Avenue as well. So that's where he met my mother. While he was going for lunch breaks. He met somebody from very close to his community in Italy. And that's how they met in Prince George.
Coincidence.
Pure coincidence.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, what then became the vocational school, and then it transferred into the College of New Caledonia. What stimulated that, and what was the difference between the two?
Well, I think it was the it was the BC Vocational School was strictly trades,
Right.
and then they increased into other programming.
Right.
So when they increased other programming, obviously trades went along with it,
Right.
and it became the College of New Caledonia.
Yeah, and that was likely in the early to mid 70s.
Yes, 50 years ago. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so that was the transition.
Yeah.
And then another thing happened to the college. It acquired the Canadian Tire store next to it, which became the Trade and Technology Center. Another transition again, different from what it was before, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. And a little bit of history. Like I said, the trades and technology areas have been around for 60 years or so. You know, we have probably the biggest footprint as far as we have 3 different buildings at the college. And you're right, the old Canadian Tire building was one of them. But also, there's 15 trades and technology institutes in British Columbia. You know, our school is not small by any stretch, so we are our trade school. We're actually 4th or 5th largest with regards to student intake. We have about 1,700 students come through our doors every year.
Wow.
So it's a fairly big school in you know, as far as trades and technologies. And our buildings, we have, as you said, probably about 15, 16 years ago, the John Brink building opened up, and it houses most of our construction programs, electrical, carpentry, and some automotive as well. Then about 5 years ago, we have the Canfor Tech building right across the street.
Yeah.
Houses many of our manufacturing programs, the welding and millwright and metal fabrication. And just as recent as 2 years ago, we have our heavy mechanical trades building that just opened up as well.
So if I look at the College of New Caledonia as an organization, you have satellites in different communities. Tell us a little bit about that.
Satellites are very important. Our regional programs are very important, and you know, very important to the communities. We have a wonderful trades facility in Quesnel. It's a mini version of our Canfor Tech building, actually. And it houses most of our programs, the carpentry, electrical. We had power engineering there. We have welding, millwrighting. Millwright's very, very big in Quesnel. We also have our satellite campus in Mackenzie, and as far west as Burns Lake. And we also have a campus in Vanderhoof and also in Fort St. James.
Yeah. So quite an infrastructure, right? Large.
Yeah.
So now, Frank, what is happening in the forest industry in particular, in the last number of years, it has been going through some difficulty. The one was because of pine beetle, you know, which started in the late 90s, and in 2000 it created a situation where there was an uplift to recover as much of the dead pine as possible. We have issues with the spruce beetle right now. Subsequently, at one point we were harvesting as much as 80 million cubic meters annually, and gradually that has been going down, and as a result we are likely now closer to approaching 45 million cubic meters annually, which has resulted in shuts. About 23 mills have shut down in the interior. Yeah. And that has created hardship in a number of communities, obviously, and still, even as we speak, industry is in transition. Mm-hmm. Transition means that you know, we used to be low-cost producers, and now because of a number of circumstances, the industry has become a high-cost producer, and it is trying to find new direction in terms of what will the industry look like as we go forward. Mm-hmm. Obviously, a very important part of that is that it will have to make different products for different markets. It needs to find different, it will employ different skill sets from what we know in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, the skill sets that are now being employed will be likely totally different from where we are today. Hence, where do you see an organization that is critical to all of these transitions, and where do we go from here is the college? How do you see that?
Well, it's a really good question, and that's something that we're asking right now, John. You are right. Probably 2010, 11, we reached a peak when it came to apprenticeship numbers. So, as you described, sort of, the little bit of a downside in the forest industry. That's also reflective of our trades and technologies area and our apprenticeship numbers as well, where we actually we had an abundance of apprentices trying to get into the system. We had huge wait lists. Matter of fact, we couldn't keep up with the demand. There was huge, like I said, wait lists to get into our programs, and finding facilities and finding qualified instructors to meet those needs. It was very difficult. We've kind of plateaued now. Our wait lists have kind of diminished. So we've got to diversify. We've got to now look at different ways of meeting the needs of the industry. And we need partners like you to sit down and have a direction as far as moving into automation, robotics, coding. Engineering is very, very big. As you well know, we have a brand new civil engineering program starting at the college. So we're diversifying.
This September.
This September we are. And hopefully to have 28 students enrolled for the September intake. And it's a 2-year technology program. And from there, we want to dovetail that into either mechanical engineering or electrical engineering. That's down the road. But we need to meet the needs of what the community and industry requires, John.
Right.
And that's going to mean a collective group partnership with, both industry, government, the school, obviously, all
the
sorts of
community, First Nations.
First Nations is such an important piece of it.
Yeah.
We need to take a step back, take a look at our programming, and then change and diversify as required.
Yeah, so both you and me have been here for a long time. I came in at 65, so 55 years ago, and you were born here. There is no question in my mind, and I believe you agree with that, this region in this area, in particular in this city, is such an amazing, we are so lucky to be here because it is a land of opportunities, and then the city of Prince George and the region is in the center of the province. It is the crossroad by air, by road, by rail, and it is, in my opinion, regardless, although the downturn in the forest industry is serious, I believe there is a bright future ahead. And not only in the forest industry, but all the other things that are happening around the city of Prince George. You can feel the dynamics going on underneath it. Smart money is looking at the city, both for investment and in industry and some of the major projects they are looking at.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think your energy exemplifies. I heard Lynn Hall talk at an event 2 weeks ago, and he talked about the energy in Prince George and the enthusiasm. And I totally agree with that. Even though we're in kind of down times right now in some of the industries, I think we diversified enough. And as you said, we are the hub of the North. Everything comes through our areas, which bodes well for a lot of our trades programs and our apprenticeship programs. If you look at a program like heavy duty mechanics, it's not just forestry that they cater to. They also go into the mining and the oil and gas industry and the natural gas industry. There's all sorts of avenues where tradesmen or tradespeople, are required. And that is one small example. So yes, there is lots of energies. There's lots of opportunities. It's the announcement yesterday of the hemp plant in Prince George. There's lots of different opportunities.
And major careers for those that pursue trades and terrific futures.
Yeah.
So looking at that, Frank, with all the things that are going on in the area and in the region, the role of the college is becoming increasingly more important. And I've talked about this a lot, and so have others, that I believe the time has come for us to look at developing a center of excellence here in conjunction with the College of New Caledonia, a center that will pursue the new trades and technology that is required not only for the forest industry but other industries, and kind of a BCIT of the North. And if I look at the BCIT, there are 48,000 students. I believe we need to develop a center of excellence in Prince George that address those issues and put in place the infrastructure for it.
You're 100% right. When you made that announcement just recently and talked about the Center of Excellence, it brought a smile to my face, John, because I think that's the direction we need to go. And you stole my words. I've often talked about the BCIT of the North, and I'm proud to say that.
Yeah.
BCIT has good quality programs, like you said, 48,000 students there.
Yeah.
Where there's challenges, and we don't have the population base or the amount of industries that they do down there, but at the end of the day, with challenges there's opportunities, and the opportunities are we have to be flexible. We have to look at different programming to meet the needs.
Yeah.
And I think by echoing what BCIT does, we can get there and we can reach those needs.
Yeah, and we can work with others, right? This is not in competition with, this is working with others for something unique to Northern British Columbia, and working with the communities, First Nations, in terms of addressing the issues that they required in industry for a changing industry in a new direction.
And not only that, we can work with other colleges as well, so we don't need to reinvent the wheel.
No.
It is there.
Yeah.
I have wonderful colleagues throughout the province. BCIT is one example. Matter of fact, I'm the chair of the British Columbia Trades and Technologies administrators of British Columbia. Yeah. And we have a really close-knit. The 15 deans get together, we talk about strategies, we also talk about partnerships. So along with all the partnerships we have to develop in our community, we also have that help and assistance from the BCITs if needed as well.
Exactly, and that offers the opportunity to, especially with the infrastructure that the college already has, to work very closely together, not only with local or regional or provincial, but nationwide, and to become a center that people come from far and wide to see what we're doing, how we are doing it, and moving into the 21st century.
Yeah, and that's a good example. And the thing about it too, John, is you being from the North and myself, we get things done. Yeah. There's things. So if there's opportunities like that to be the center of excellence, training, we'll get the support of government. We'll get the support of our community. We'll get the support of our industry. Yeah. We just need to make sure everyone's involved when we try to reach that center of excellence.
Yeah, and then if we kind of look at that in terms of the skill sets required as we go forward, in terms of, you touched on it already earlier, engineering, civil engineering, but you're also looking at potentially another program, mechanical engineering, other specialties in terms of digital technology, robotics, scanning technology, and all of that, and including, how do we generate more fiber from our forest, our working land base. Mm-hmm. And again, looking at it in a positive way, how come that other people, similar land base, can grow 50% more fiber off that land base is something that we collectively have to address and can under a center of technology. And the college again is very well positioned because they have a forest license. I think it's something approaching 18,000 hectares.
Yep.
Quite sizable, actually.
Yep.
And then other gyms that we already have in the area from the perspective of learning, but also in terms of attracting people to look at what we have, not only manufacturing facilities, obviously in the future a center of technology, but we have the experimental forest now already part of it. And then we have another gym that I always like to bring up is the nature park, the Gem Good nature park about 20 minutes north of Prince George. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So and then we have the ancient forest, mm-hmm. right? And which is unique in other area.
Yep.
on the forest base, we had, I think it was in the early 80s when we had a beetle kill area in the Bowen Lake region. That was in the early 80s. Now looking back, and I was there about 3-4 months ago, just before the winter actually, and looking at that area, how that has regenerated is just unbelievable. And so we have a land base that is extremely suitable for growing timber. You know, so the future looks very, very good looking forward.
Yeah, no question. And you talked a little bit about the research forest at College of New Caledonia. It's a wonderful project. I mean, that, you know, I often talk about this, you know, the advantages of a college is the applied research. And we talk about being transferable and being flexible. There's no better way to be flexible or transferable without applied research.
Exactly.
And we have a really great, energetic applied research department at the college. And I think that's really important in moving forward. We're also, you know, when it comes to the forest industry, our natural resource forest technology program. It's been around for many years. You're probably well aware of that one, John. And together with the research forest, they work together. It's great applied research, great exploration for our students and for our industry as well. So 2 good examples.
Yeah, and then we would, in that particular platform, we would draw from other areas far and wide within Canada and other places, additional technology and ideas about manufacturing and growing fiber.
No question, and the applied research is basically for that, stuff like that, for new innovation, new projects, new directions.
Yeah. So how do you see it from here going forward in terms of the Prince George and the region and the opportunities for the college?
Well, I'm optimistic. I mean, similar to you, John, we're optimistic people. And I think, you know, being from the north, we get things done, as I said earlier. But I think, you know, we just have to make sure we don't continue to do the same thing and expect different results. So we have to look at different ways of training, different ways of manufacturing, different ways of programming. We have to take a step back, evaluate what you have, and then move forward with what the needs are of our community and our industry.
Right, and for everybody knowing the challenges, I believe the time has never been better than today with industry, government, the college, and the area being in the communities, First Nations as well as the other communities, the time is right now to develop a center of technology looking towards the 21st century and getting ready for what follows next.
Totally agree, and I think at the end of the day, the timing is right, but I think the will is there as well.
Exactly.
I think everyone is willing to come to the table and help out. I think it's really imperative.
Excellent. Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching us today, and we'll see you the next time.